So if I understand, so your parents gave you a strong work ethic,
Yes.
and then some of your experiences helped you to become a little bit more empathetic.
Yes, it did.
did.
It did. Yes, it definitely did expand my empathy. I don't necessarily think because I've been able to do some of the things that I've been able to do that I'm better than other people. I just happen to have the right mixture of love and good character model for me that I was able to go pretty far. But I've worked with kids and they don't necessarily have all of that access, and their outcomes can be very different. Right now, and I just learned this, we have more kids leaving our foster system and going to jail than going to college. And that's a failing as a country when we can't even take care of our most vulnerable people, our most blameless population, our children. And I think a lot about that when I try to craft my policies, whether it was when I was in the school board or what I'm trying to do when running for Congress. How do we help our most vulnerable have their best chance?
We are very blessed and we have a responsibility. I'm
Yes,
glad you're talking
yes.
I'm glad you talked about the school board. What do you think one of the biggest takeaways from your experiences on the school board? How many years were you on?
I was about 2.5.
Let's talk about what you learned and what you took away from that experience.
I think that you can
Good
basically,
and bad.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Takeaway.
you can work with just about anybody if you have a love of your constituents. And I think that I've met with a lot of people that don't necessarily agree with me on every aspect of policy. But when everything is centered in love and understanding, and when people trust you, they're more likely to work with you. So I couldn't always get everything I wanted when I was on the board. I wanted to have a $15 minimum wage for our school district. I mean, part of it might have been, I might say it was institutional friction, but most of it happened because people were willing to work with me to find money in the budget to get to about $11.45, which was better than the $10 they were getting before. And we could have gotten further if we'd had better help from our state ledge and our federal government in terms of fully funding our schools. And so I'm thinking about a lot of that as a work in progress. So to go back to what you were asking, I learned you can work with folks across the aisle. There are things that you can come together on.
Are you sure in Congress?
I
don't know about you.
So here's the fundamental issue in Congress. I think a lot of people like to blame parties for tribalism and the intense rhetoric, but quite frankly, and I said this in there, corporate interests have a vested interest in having us fighting. So if I'm dealing with somebody who's actually representing their constituencies, I think that I can easily reach a consensus because we're trying to serve constituents. When people are trying to serve corporate donors, I think the only real thing you can do is work very hard to make sure they get replaced later.
Well, in the short run.
Yes.
In the short run,
yes.
You have to work with people who are being incentivized in an improper way.
So
what are you
yes.
going to do when you get to Congress to do that? Because it seems like everyone's digging in their heels, both Democrats and Republicans, about their issues. And it's going to be very hard, even though right now the Congress is dominated by Democrats. How are you gonna get stuff done?
It's just about coalition building, and you build them where you can build them, and you push the ball forward as much as you can. An example, the USMCA, the new NAFTA. I think that a lot of it's incredible that in this atmosphere we've got very progressive folks. Linda Sanchez, she's a congresswoman from California. She tends to be very labor focused. She approved of this. Sherrod Brown, he tends to be a more progressive senator. He approved of this. And then on the other side, you have John Cornyn and Ted Cruz. It is mind-blowing. And I don't think it's everything that we want, but I think that if we keep making the kinds of coalitions that will put things forward, that will put children first, that will put families first, that will put workers first, we're going to be able to make some forward momentum. I have a lot more hope for the system than what we're seeing right now because there are people who are working earnestly to make change.
I hope you're right because what I see,
I know.
I don't know about you, but what I see, it seems like everyone's digging in the heels and everyone's getting to their sidelines.
And part of it also is television loves to put the big fights forward. If AOC says something that's particularly incendiary or if Ted Cruz says something that's particularly incendiary, or even if it isn't, a lot of things taken in isolation may not necessarily have the meaning that they intend, right? The media seizes on it, they cut it down into little sound bites, and then they push it forward, and it's very terrible for the democratic process. I don't think the situation is dire. I wouldn't be running if the situation weren't dire, but I don't think that it would be as dire if we didn't have this kind of news cycle egging folks on.
I hope you're right, because to me it looks dire, but I don't know. But like you said, I think you're right. Media does portray things in sound bites that obviously gets attention.
Yeah.